Welcome back. How we doing? Happy Tuesday, everybody. Sorry we've been a little bit absent. I had to wear the uniform over the weekend and waste all of your taxpayer dollars. And we got something really hot that we need to talk about right out of the gate here. Welcome back. We're going to talk about China here in a second. We're going to talk about the situation in Ukraine. We're going to talk about Tariqi Taliban using thermals. We got quite a bit to talk about today. We are moving further and further towards what the end state model looks like for our live show. And thanks for being here with us as we get there. Do me a favor, though. Hit the thumbs up button, all that YouTube shill that I'm supposed to ask you for. Just don't break the button. I know a lot of people tell you to smash buttons, but we need that. So don't break it. Okay. Also, I did get a haircut, but it's kind of a mess because I had my hat on and I just got out of the gym and I have not had a chance to take a shower. So I still smell good because I covered up all of my nasty with some additional deodorant. But anyway, now let's talk about the hottest topic that I wanted to cover today. In the year 2022, BMW put out a new slogan for their vehicles, specifically the ultimate driving machine. And Ukraine took that shit seriously. Okay? They took that to heart. They took it personally. Let me show you what I mean.
Доброго ранку, ми з Миколаєва, а Миколаїв – це Україна. Хочу показати в даному відео, як нам зробили подарунок. І так як ми неодноразово скаржилися, що орки дуже кивають п'ятами швидко, керівник області взяв це до уваги і зробив патрульній поліції Миколаївської області ось такий подаруночок.
It's a BMW 6 Series Technical.
Ось так.
A BMW 6 Series Technical.
Відповідно, таким
It ain't a Hilux, but it sure is luxury.
Для всіх.
That's when Karen's about had enough of the local management, right there. Or when you have to hit the country club in the morning, but you got to defend Kyiv in the afternoon.
Як нам зробили подарунок, і так як ми неодноразово скаржилися, що орки дуже кивають п'ятами швидко, керівник області взяв так.
A BMP will destroy that thing? No! Of course it will. It doesn't detract from how awesome it is.
Для всіх. Це буде Україна.
I was actually reading an important report on stuff just like this earlier today, and it talked about how virality isn't going to be the thing that helps carry Ukraine into the into quote unquote victory, whatever victory means. Because at this point, what we have already seen is really a restructure of global power. You know what I mean? I don't know what victory looks like. I don't know if Ukraine will ever be in the state that it was always used to being in ever again. Now, speaking specifically to global powers, President Zelensky today talked with Canadian Parliament, begging, if you will, that'd be the closest, the best descriptor I could use, to implement once again the no-fly zone, and to a standing ovation. And, something of pertinence, something of general pertinence, and you can draw your own conclusions here, is the turmoil that has been happening in Canada over the last few months. Our freedom convoys. The rally behind a cause like this might be something that Canada would latch onto. Now, I don't follow as closely as I'd like to, even though, our dear founder here at Funker 530 is Canadian. He and I are going to probably have a chat and just kick some ideas off of each other of, based on that. You can go and find that discussion that they had on YouTube, what that would mean, right? Zelensky has had a very forward face, and you have to applaud the man for staying in Kiev. But listening to him on a global or on a public scale that way, plead for additional aid. I want to say Canada has surpassed the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of lethal aid The U.S. is in the $13 billion arena worth of aid. 3 point something billion of it is for lethal aid. As of December, the U.S.'s lethal aid was like $200 million. But I want to say on the 11th, Joe Biden had approved that additional package as a part of the overarching campaign budget, or I shouldn't say campaign budget, the overarching budget. Let's jump into a couple other things, though. Let's talk a little bit about China for a minute. So there's a poll out there specific to China. Now, you guys are probably wondering why I asked that. There has been some discussion with a few of the think tanks out there, some of the places that I gather a lot of my open source intelligence research from, one of which being, and I talk about them a lot, the Institute for the Study of War. Now, what I love about ISW is that they do source themselves, and you can follow it all the way back to the original, the original report. Something that China came out and said, China and Russia in the same breath. Let's go to the big camera, if the big camera works. Here we go. Oh, adding all kinds of crazy stuff. Wow. Adding all kinds of extra stuff to the show tonight. Something China and Russia both said, which I found to be really, really interesting, was that Russia doesn't need additional aid. However, that the U.S. cannot obligate China, and this is China saying this, the U.S. cannot obligate China to promise not to send lethal aid. Sorry about my lights. That's somebody following the other channel. I'll have to disable them or something. That statement, words matter. Words matter on a global scale like that, right? That statement matters. Saying specifically, you can't tell me what to do, you're not my daddy. That's what they just said, right? Now, what was also interesting about that comment is that they labeled Russia's invasion of Ukraine as a limited military operation. That's the same kind of verbiage that we hear coming from Russia. Special military operation, much less of a label than an invasion. So that's just a thread to keep an eye on. We've talked a little bit about China before. China is going to value stability. Right now, they're obviously not going to want to separate themselves from the situation entirely, but simply those statements that, A, Russia doesn't need us, but you can't stop us if they do, that's something to write home about. Let's go back over this way and take a look at some of that footage. Here we go. Scoot, scoot. Don't worry about the sound effects. It's not actually me doing the sound effects. Those are sound effects that I have built in a highly technological model for the stream tonight. Okay? Just in case you aren't tracking, we have launched our most recent shirt. Our most recent shirt is the Bayraktar. We haven't had a chance to talk about this one live, so I want to pull that up for everybody. Once again, I do want to remind you that any sale of our shirts, of our merch, is going to go towards Ukrainian charity. Here it is. So the Bayraktar is now available, and it is in the store. I wish one of you would tell me this one's fake. Brownie, the Bayraktar's fake too. At this point, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. Speaking of the Bayraktar, I'm sorry. We didn't start with it. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. I feel like there's always going to be a riot if I don't play it once. We've got some footage to go through here. Then we're going to look at the campaign map, obviously. We've got some other things to talk about, not just Ukraine tonight. You'll start to see some of our normal content flow out in addition to the continued Ukraine coverage. Specifically speaking, thermal snipers in and around Pakistan. I can't show you that one live here, though. You're going to have to head over to the app and the website to check that one out. I want to hit some of this support that's coming in, though, while we were watching Bayraktar SP for the $100 super chat, man. Thanks for that very much. Cody, thank you for the $10. Bayraktar and Funker530 for the win. We're going to pull up the Bayraktar shirt while I'm going through this, and if you guys are interested in grabbing yourself one, again, it does support Ukrainian charity. Run the command !merch. LA, thank you for the $5. Sure, it matters who's got the biggest stick, but it matters hell of a lot more who's swinging it. Not wrong. LA, thanks for the $5 again. Sure, we can't obligate them, and he's speaking specifically to the comments that were made by China. China said specifically to the U.S., the U.S. cannot obligate us to promise we won't provide lethal aid to Russia. Yep, you're not wrong. But I mean, that's starting to go down a dangerous path. You know what I mean? Kieran, thank you for becoming a member. Welcome to the Funkers. LA, thank you for the $10. No mercy, no quarter. Big Zerg, thank you for becoming a member. Lionel White, thank you for becoming a member. That shirt looking good. Good job to you and your team. This is our good friends at Bunker Branding. They designed this for us. We just gave them the idea and they put it together. Let's talk a little bit about Bunker Branding. Those you guys out there might know Demolition Ranch. Bunker Branding is run by Demolition Ranch and his wife, and they have been awesome people to work with. You guys ordered so many shirts from them over the course of a weekend that it took them a little while, but everything is shipping. The shipping, the turnaround times are under normal circumstances good until you Giga Chads start coming in and buying up everything. Let's jump into, like I said, some of this other footage that we've got here to go through. We've got some of Willie's stuff that we're not going to cover here. We're going to cover a tank getting hit. And I don't necessarily have a location for this. Technically, we have this labeled not safe for work, but there's nothing overly nasty in it. This is just something that happens in conflict. Specifically, this tank was hit with what appears to be an anti-tank mine. Again, I don't have any specific location for this just yet. It is something that we're looking into, but as it stands right now, all we have is the footage itself coming up for you guys right now. And if you would rather watch this without my face on it, download the app. That's all you. So direct your attention down here to the bottom of the screen. This is actually a tank right here. Don't worry, it's going to center on it here in a moment. Right here. So just to break this down for you, he's crossing what appears to be some kind of a small ravine with some debris placed over it. Okay, with debris placed over it in some way. Now, as soon as he gets across it, things are going to go kind of haywire for him. All right. Note, the explosion originates from underneath of the vehicle. Low right there. You see it? Right here. So the track maybe crossed over an anti-tank mine there. Now, immediately, the munitions inside caught fire. That's your fireball there. And that tank is now gone. Or, well, I mean, there's pieces of it left. Now, this tank was probably at the fore end of a column. Earlier on, you can see a tank firing here in the upper left. Let's see if we can catch that. There it is, right there. Got to be quick. Oh, you got to be quicker than that. Right there. That's it, probably outgoing, it appears. And then we have... And these are Russian tanks. RPG from the right of the tank. No. That was likely not an RPG. It was probably, and obviously I can't confirm, but probably a anti-tank mine. Let's take a look at some aftermath footage of what man pads do to aircraft when they're hit, and we can also try to pull up the footage of what we suspect is this aircraft. Now, this is specifically in Su-25 Frogfoot, which is close air support, if you will. And it was still able to fly after being hit with the manpad, and we'll take a look at what kind of damage that manpad did. And for those that aren't familiar, manpad stands for Man-Portable Air Defense. Coming up for you guys right now. So you see this right engine here. Now the way it works is it'll actually explode before it hits the aircraft, and which will send fragmentation, primary fragmentation into the aircraft and just tear it to pieces. Australian, yeah, we're going to be getting to that here in just a few minutes. All right. So you can see what kind of damage manpads will do. Someone's mentioning man on fire, things like that. Not sure, not certain. All right, not certain. I want to show one of our trending videos from over the weekend, because it's going to lead into one of the next talking points and one of the next pieces of points of clarity. Right, so we're gonna shift off of Ukraine for a minute, cover another item while it's on my brain, and then we'll come back to Ukraine. Now, over the weekend, there were reports of Iranian cruise missiles striking, quote, the U.S. consulate. Iranian cruise missiles did not strike the U.S. consulate, but they were close. They were close enough to it to cause concern. We have footage of those, but it's important to note that Iran has taken credit for that, and the context that you should understand is earlier last week, Israel had killed two the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps personnel in Syria. This was less than a week afterwards. Iran fires a missile into Iraq in response, likely, to that, specifically because when they said, we launched these missiles, but we launched them at a Zionist center of power or something along those lines. So let's take a look at that footage really quick. This is footage of those cruise missiles. I'm going to give you guys full screen on those. Oh, I want to respond to something. What do you think about the pro-Kremlin trolls on your site? Don't feed the trolls. Don't feed the trolls. Don't feed the wildlife. Ballistic missiles, not cruise missiles. Excuse me. Thank you for the correction. I'm a human. Thy rampant pigeon. We're going to be getting to that here in just a minute, too. Yep. All right. Now I saw some comments in chat, and we can cover this. We can cover this one right now. In fact, thus far, over the last week, there have been 3 journalists killed. One of which was an American citizen, Brent Renauer. He was killed by small arms fire. His partner was also hit and wounded. But just Monday, there were 2 additional journalists, including a Fox News cameraman that was killed as well. There was another Fox News, I want to say the correct term would just be journalist or maybe co-anchor, I'm not sure. He was reportedly wounded and in the hospital, right? So for those that have, you know, kind of fantasies of grabbing a camera and going to Ukraine just to take some photos, or even in another direction, think hard and long about it. You know, no deterrence. You're not going to get any deterrence from me. And even if there was deterrence for me, it shouldn't sway you one way or another. I'm just a dude, and my opinion matters to me. But we are seeing more and more indiscriminate general fire along both sides of the invasion. Now, what I want to do is I want to go into the campaign map for a minute, and I want to talk about Irpin and the river and axes of advance. So let's pull up the campaign map here. And I want to kind of just give you a generalized update on where Russia is in Ukraine for those that aren't able to follow it as directly. If you haven't been able to keep up with it, where their priorities are currently falling. Campaign map is coming up for you. We're going to use live UA map for this one. So there were limited advances over the last couple days and over the weekend. What Russia is running into is very stiff resistance on the Irpin River. So this right here is the Irpin River, and it goes all the way up and all the way down. And you can see these are areas where the essential forward line of troops are on that northern and western side. So this is Ukraine leveraging geography in the defense of Kyiv right now. Now, there haven't been a lot of advances in the east, over near Kharkiv. There was an attempted encirclement around the eastern, southeastern side for an eventual additional breakout. One of the more concerning things that we'll pull up from the Institute for Study of War, I've been talking about quite a bit, is a buildup of Russian and Belarusian troops in northwestern Ukraine. So I've mentioned in the past that it's concerning and interesting that we haven't yet seen anything cross into western Ukraine to potentially cut off logistical and supply routes from Poland to the west. But there is a buildup that's happening of Russian and Belarusian troops out here on the west. I'm going to jump over to some of the support. Eddie, thank you for the 243. Remember the guy with who picked up the AT mine with the cig in his mouth? He placed it there 100%. I thought he was headed to Russia with that mine, personally. But yeah, he must have dropped that off on his way. Kemp, thank you for the 717. Imagine Russian troops seeing made in China on some of their equipment and trying to send support. Instant demoralization. I saw a meme the other day. It's no shame that I happen to be American born and a big fan of our Second Amendment. But it said something along the lines of, imagine you're a Ukrainian fighter and you receive a support crate from America and it's a box of California compliant ARs. That one I laughed like really hard at that one. Thanks very much for the 717. SP, thank you for the $10. This monthly subscribe is pushing my budget, but here's something because you're a handsome guy. Well, thank you very much, Garrison. You're not looking too bad tonight yourself. Don't worry, it's just you and I here. There's nobody else here but you and me. Okay? How you doing? I like you. Thanks for the support. Silver, thank you for the $5. SP, thank you for the $200. Goodness. Thank you for that, man. Eddie, thank you for the 243. Bayraktar. Eddie for 243. Thank you for that again. Logan, thank you for the 499. All right, let's jump back into some more footage that I wanted to take a look at here. And then I've got a couple more things that I want to cover from my notes that I've been tracking over the weekend. We've got some footage from a Russian perspective here that I want to go through. This specifically T-72B with a bunch of food supplies that have been placed on top of it, engaging Ukrainian positions. That's going to be coming up for you here in just a moment. And right now. Lucky Charm, you're absolutely welcome. There must be a blackout of smartphone footage from the Russian side. I can talk about that in just a moment. We are starting to see more footage coming out of, from a perspective of Russian ground forces, right? But it's oftentimes not, oftentimes, not in this instance, it's oftentimes not being taken by Russians, right? Because there were reports early on of Russian forces' phones being taken from them, before entry. So we didn't see a whole lot of footage early on, and there were a lot of people that were super pissed about that, saying we were only covering one side of the footage. We obviously have our biases against a sovereign nation being invaded, but from a footage perspective, we will absolutely display and show, as many sides to the conflict as possible. Right. So if you want to watch the footage for the face value, for its face value, and not listen to the commentary, i.e. here, not read the analysis tab on the website or on the app, that's fine. But now that we are starting to see this footage, Russian perspective type combat footage, you're going to start to see it come out from us when we find it. Americans are anti-invasion. Wait a sec. Whataboutism again. Nobody ever said I agreed with the other invasions. Bayraktar's quick death? Maybe if it hits you right. I do want to cover some of our biggest trending videos from last week. Unfortunately, a couple of them I can't go into, but there is one that I think we should be safe with. And this is after a Russian jet was shot down. The pilot's parachute failed to open, and you can see him essentially, plummeting down. We obviously don't see the impact, don't see the aftermath, but it can be a little bit disturbing to watch. So, hide your kids. Do you or don't you then? Of course I don't of course I don't support the invasion. Well, there's a little bit of aftermath there. It's not too bad though. Of course I don't support the invasion of a sovereign nation, right? Especially one that isn't harboring terrorism, that isn't, attacking other nations with terrorist groups. There's an apples and oranges comparison there, right? What about the invasion of Afghanistan? It's just entirely different. It's an entirely different situation. Now, with that said, when it's time to call out the United States for doing something the United States shouldn't be doing, we called out the Yakla raid, we called out the Kabul drone strike that killed 10 civilians, based on faulty intelligence, based on a poor soak. We had partnered with the Taliban for our outer cordon in Kabul, and suddenly we received intelligence that there was going to be another strike. I can't tell you whether or not where we got that intelligence and how we ended up on just some white car with people just going to and from. But we called them out too, and you can go check those posts. Let's jump into a couple more things here. I think I wanted to cover. Actually, let's pull up the Institute for the Study of Wars map and that'll give you a bit better understanding of where the axes of advance have been. And then I'll want to rehash a few things that we were talking about earlier. Let's go into the trending here. I did want to cover this one though. So again, this is some of our this is some of our trending footage. So this was trending last week, and this is CCTV footage supposedly of the former deputy head of the main directorate of the National Security Service, so the SBU for Ukraine. Now, we hadn't yet published this one the last time I was live. So now that we are live again, I'm gonna show you what an absolute cluster looks like of a situation, and I'd love to see what you guys have to say about it. It's coming up for you right now.
Они еще встречный огонь был друг друга. Они сами свои.
Now there's going to be a couple things I'm going to want to go back and watch here. Okay. Let's hit the rewind button for a second. Let's hit the rewind button again. You know, I understand and recognize that this is footage from last week, guys. But remember, I'm only live 2 nights a week now. Just from a time management perspective, and this is some wild footage to take in. Now, the reports that we have are that this individual here on the right, at least one of these two, once I hit play, we'll figure out which, is going to receive contact first, right? So we're gonna try and see that happen here. It's gonna be this guy right here. You'll see him fall to the ground. Right there. He has started to fall. Now, you've got this guy with supposedly this angle here and all of his boys back behind this vehicle. You got this guy with an angle straight across, presumably. This guy with an angle that way. So they've got kind of these three, these 3 points at the moment. But it's just going to delve into an absolute nightmare. Now we've got people running. This guy's going to come around the backside of the car and start shooting. This guy's shooting straight through the car with 2 dudes on the other side. You've got all of these guys just starting to unload into the vehicle. Just an absolute nightmare of a situation. And again, if you weren't following the context on that one, that is reportedly Dimitri Demienko. And I know I didn't say that right, but he was the former deputy head of the main directorate of the National Security Service, which is essentially the SBU, or which is the SBU of Ukraine. Now, the reports were saying that potentially he had been providing information to the Russians, some form of an espionage type situation. Okay, just to give you a little bit of what we have on the background. I do want to show everybody one thing on the website, though. Make sure you guys open up the full story. And if you are using the app, make sure you check the analysis tab. Will and Josh and Austie and even Funker himself, when he posts something, will do a little bit of context breakdown for whatever it is that we have. We posted on Facebook just the other day, and, somebody was saying something along the lines of, I've been following for 10 years and didn't know that there was an analysis section. So I just want to make sure everybody's tracking that. I want to check in on some support. The Raging Hudson, thank you for the 79 cents. Supreme Greaser, thank you for the 1141. I obviously don't like this war, but I really want to see Russian equipment in action as a big fan of military technology. I think, not unlike any other nation, a lot of quote, military technology that's pushed on a global scale from an information perspective might not be all it's cracked up to be, right? There are a lot of capabilities that float their way around, military technology circles that really never come to bear. FKD, a whole bunch of letters there. Thanks very much for the $42. Uppercup, thank you for the $2. Templar Disciple, thank you for the $10. Eddie, thank you for the $2.43. Let's go over to the campaign map from the Institute for the Study of War. We have no relationship with the Institute for the Study of War. I am just a fan of their products. I think they do a really great job of sourcing themselves, of collating information across the invasion. They do a daily report. Matter of fact, let's see if they have. Just getting that pulled up for you guys right now. I didn't have it pulled up before the start. Amateur. It's amateur hour over here, folks. All right. Coming up for you now. Okay. So we're looking at essentially the north, I don't know, 3/4 here. There's really just Crimea left down in the south. Just to orient you to what we're looking at here, though. Let's back out. Russian advances versus controlled areas. That essentially means these are areas that Russia has pushed into, but they don't necessarily control it. You've got the darker shaded areas or the solid lined areas, which is assessed as Russian control. Then you have claimed Russian control areas and claimed Ukrainian counteroffensives. You're really only going to see that over in the east near Kiev right now. Here. Or excuse me, Kharkiv. With a minor one in the southeast. Now, there was a lot of reporting that talked about these stalling the potential breakout that would have happened. We're starting to see that encirclement that I've spoken about a few times of Luhansk and Donetsk. You still have a forward line of troops for Ukraine here, and Russian advances starting to press past Donetsk and Luhansk. The buildup on the west over here, they are starting to annotate. This is assessed to be Russian and Belarusian troops to the west, northwest. Around Kiev, which we already spoke about a little bit earlier, advances have been really generally halted around the Irpin River, which essentially follows this forward line of troops here. The city of Irpin being just north of Kiev. So if this is Irpin, the river is about through here. But the pressure at the moment is the advancement west towards Odessa, west towards Kiev, west and south around Kiev. And you have your primary axes as well. So it remains that Russia's primary intent is to encircle Kiev and focus on capitulation. Checking in on the chat for a minute. Is that a Chris Vector behind you? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Love what you and your amazing team do. Thank you very much for that. Anyone out there? Nope. Can we talk about the Russian Navy getting close to Odessa? Absolutely. So for a little while now, we've been kind of waiting for that, for an additional incursion to happen out in Odessa. There are key points of significance for Odessa. It's not only the furthest west port, but that would essentially, if they're able to take Odessa, that would cut off Ukraine entirely from the sea. That would cut off Ukraine entirely from the sea, right? It also provides somewhat, and we'll go back over to live UA map for that part of the discussion. It also provides somewhat of a land bridge with Transnistria, Right? Transnistria, another one of those breakaway regions here of Moldova specifically. But taking Odessa essentially gives Russians control of this entire southern corridor here. So it'll connect Transnistria with Crimea, which is now close to being connected with, if Mariupol falls, with Donetsk and Luhansk. A few days ago, we threw, or actually it was about a week ago, we had footage of a naval force building off the coast of Odessa. We still have that footage up on the site, and it has continued to build. At that time, there were, I want to say, 4 landing craft and a few support craft. I don't know the current size of it as it stands now, but it is continuing to build. And I've been essentially talking about, every time we've gone live, talking about Odessa as a primary goal for Russia. Okay. Let's jump back into some more footage here. Very slow progress overall. Yes, very slow progress across their different axes. Almost disturbingly slow, right? Relative to what we all understood to be Russian capabilities. Right, the boogeyman. Russia has been the boogeyman since I can remember. Now, the last stream we talked a little bit about where specific failures happened, right? When Russia attempted to take Hostomel with paratroopers, they needed to hold that, and this essentially would have been closer to over. That would have allowed rapid advances into Kiev. The longer it takes for them to encircle Kiev, the longer it takes to get into some form of a siege type situation for Kiev, the more defensible Kiev's going to be. The more Western aid is going to arrive in the form not just food and water, right? It's humans that are defending it, so they need food and water, but lethal aid as well. We're already starting to see the footage of the Russian tank crossing over the landmine. Those types of things are going to be more and more put in place. And the more time that they have, the more defensible it's going to be. You already see journalists talking about how fortified the city feels now. What do you think about the theory that Russia has 9 to 10 days left until they've expended all resources and can't continue? I mean, that's hard. That one would be hard for me to speak to. What I can kind of speak to is the reports that we have now of the Wagner group being used at higher levels. So if you're not familiar with Wagner or Wagner, they are essentially a Russian PMC force, paramilitary force that was used heavily in Syria. And speaking of Syria, we also have reports of Syrian fighters that are being leveraged as well. There is reportedly, again, I am not there, so I can't necessarily confirm with my own eyes, but there are reportedly training camps immediately to the east of Donbass. So there, even in a manpower type situation, and those training camps are supposedly around about this area here. But even in replacing manpower losses, they're running into problems doing that, right? So logistically, they've been having issues for weeks. Now, putting an estimate on days, I don't know. That's for those that have a much better handle on, Russia's logistics programs and capabilities than I do. Checking in on chat here. USA bomb 200 Wagner's in Wagner's in Syria. Yeah. So specific to that battle, And I actually took notes on that. Let me pull that back up. Just got to get it pulled out of my OneNote here. Yeah, the Battle of Kasham. So essentially, what happened with that? What happened with the Battle of Kasham is there were about 40 U.S. forces, a Delta team that was out there, along with, you know, I want to say some 75th Ranger dudes, embedded with their team, and some pro-Assad forces decided it'd be a good idea to attack a defended position that had Americans in it. And, you know, the U.S. responded with like F-22s, F-15s, B-52s, AC-130s, just absolutely brought the American air power to bear against the Wagner mercenaries. Now, Russia reports a little bit lesser of an involvement of the Wagner group folks, and not just Russia, because the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights kind of agreed with Russia's assessment that it was actually 68 pro-government fighters or so. U.S. estimates that there were about 210, 211 that were killed. And these are Russian, you know, PMCs, not unlike your Academy or Blackwater. These are tip of the spear type mercenaries. Was the Discord sound from the stream? I don't think so. It might be. No. That wasn't my sound. I have streamer mode enabled. Ryan, thank you very much for becoming a member. I appreciate that very much. If you are a member here on YouTube, make sure you have joined the Discord. Run the command !Discord. That's going to get you some additional access being a member in our Discord. It gives you the ability to post pictures and links and things like that. And excuse me, Dr. Pepper. And the reason we limit that, let's talk about the reason we limit that in the Discord. It's really just to help us keep a handle on all the assholes that want to post things that are against Discord terms of service. It really is. Right. It's unfortunate that we had to do that. We had the Discord free and open, all the communicate, you know, whatever you want to call it. We had it. We had it wide open for a little while, and it absolutely delved into for a short period, something less than safe for work, which Discord's new terms of service do not agree with. So it is now limited. If you're a member here, you are going to be able to do a few additional things in the Discord, but everybody's able to join. Everybody's able to participate in the discussion. That's also where we communicate our live schedules, and as well as on Twitter. If you guys aren't following us on Twitter, you can follow me at Ronnie Fit, or you can follow my boss, Funker, at Funker Actual. Jack Death, thanks for hitting the support button. Thanks, man. Was that a real-time bleep? Jeez. Yeah, it was. A few more pieces of footage that came in over the weekend that we didn't get a chance to look at just yet. Again, we have footage, the latest footage from Willie. I had a chance to talk to Willie. He is headed back into country. Once he gets back into country, we're going to set up some more live discussion with him. We've got a Russian precision strike on an ammo depot that I wanted to show everybody, and that's getting ready to come up for you here. Now, I want to talk about this one ahead of time. You're gonna see what appears to be some Grad missiles that are firing. These are Ukrainian Grad missiles that you're seeing flying, and what Russia's intent behind this video is to show that Russia was taking out the ammo depot to keep Ukraine from being able to use Grads, right? So the video isn't depicting Grad missiles causing, you know, this strike, but Russia is trying to say, you're using Grad missiles, we take out your depot. Coming up for you now. You can see that cooking off. That'll be cooking off for a long while. See? Ukraine can't afford to be encircled to the east of Kiev. Kodog, I thought that said corn dog, and I got really excited because tube food is the best food. Tube food is best food. Are you using a new camera? Looks good. Keep up the good work. No. This is my normal camera. I've been streaming with this camera now for a couple years on my channel. The lives here are relatively new for us. Gotta love thermals. We were talking earlier about other footage that we have on the site, not just Ukraine stuff. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give you guys a walkthrough of the site as it looks on mobile, because I want to make sure everybody's understanding how to use it, what to do on it. That's coming up for you guys right now. Let's talk about some of the categories that we have, and this is the way you're going to see it in the app as well. So I'm basically going to give you the app version. So go into your app store, search for Funker530, and this is what you're going to find. First and foremost, if you're interested in a dark mode, we have that for you, right? If you're not using dark mode, shame on you. You're a heathen, and I hope you step on Legos every day. If you're interested in specific categories, we have categories, everything from combat to history, humor, news, police, tech. Ukraine is its own category right now. But we also have a veteran creators. If you're fans of Grand Thumb, of Mike over at Grand Thumb, fans of Cody, of Donut Operator, any of those folks, you're going to be able to find their stuff here. Watching it here does give them the views. Because we just embed the YouTube video, right? So we're doing our best to help enable veteran creators as well. So that is a category for you. But what we also cover is, escalation of force footage from our police forces across the globe. The kind of footage that you're going to see here is really to help people understand the context around use of force as a police officer. Sometimes you'll catch CNN or somebody, releasing footage of. Oh, that's better. Releasing footage of about 10 seconds of a police officer using force. But what you'll miss is the context of prior, right? So we try to release that, as it comes out from departments directly, their official department releases. We put right up on the screen for you. So there's all kinds of content that's out there on the app and on the website. Please be jumping in there, get involved with the community. The more of you find people that we get in there, the less of those troll bots we're gonna have. I'm giving weightlifting up. That's weird. But do your thing, whatever you're into. Aaron, thank you for becoming a member. Josh, you are so handsome. Also, what is Russia waiting for to bring out the advanced weaponry? Great question. That's a great question, and I don't have an answer for it. Also, Josh is very handsome. Where is Josh? Has he messaged me recently? He did. I wish I could show you a picture of Josh. Josh is a good-looking man. Got a big red beard. Good-looking man. My name's Ronnie. You guys can follow me at RonnieFit if you'd like to follow along with my other live content. I stream there on my channel Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Just search Ronnie Fit on YouTube. You'll find me, or there's a link down below. Run the command Ronnie Fit, whichever one. I'll give you guys a link before we leave. I won't be live there tonight because it's bourbon night on my couch, where I'm gonna watch the new Last Kingdom episodes. A few more pieces of footage that I wanted to get into. Then we're gonna go back to the map, back to my notes to make sure I'm covering everything that I wanted to hit before we close things out. All right. Ukrainian surface to air. This was just from today. And this is a 9K37M1. and it's coming up for you guys right now. This is a jet. It's a small dot out there.
Yes!
Very difficult to see.
Сбил!
He's excited. Very, very small, difficult to see. But it does bring the talking point back up that Russia once again, and I'll continue to say this until they establish it otherwise, still does not have air superiority. My bad, I thought you were Josh. No, I'm not Josh. I wish I was. Josh is a certified badass. Certified. He's got a little card he carries around and everything. Crazy. Josh also works for Hardhead Veterans, one of our partners. I'm a big fan. I've got their ballistic helmet, sitting right behind me. I do want to talk about our partner for tonight's stream, though, which is going to be Vet TV. I've had a lot of fun, hanging out and talking with Vet TV. I spent some time with them out at SHOT Show as well. You get a free month. Free month. Costs you nothing over at Vet TV using the link that I've got pinned up at the top. When you click on it, it's going to say that the code doesn't work. Click the apply button next to the code. That's how you get your free month. All right? They are officially the partner of the stream for tonight. Last Kingdom Season 5 is fire. Yeah, I'm most of the way through it. I think I finished it, but there are a couple. I think I want to go back and watch a couple of the episodes that I zoned out on. Every once in a while I'll have a glass of bourbon, kick back on the couch, and I'll be looking at the screen, but I'll wake up and when it's bedtime and it's still going. So I want to go back and watch a couple episodes. BSD, thank you for the $10. Thank you for your service and the coverage, Ronnie. Thank you for the $10. Definitely appreciate it. We're a small team, so any little bit of support, it just matters the world to us. Ben, thank you for becoming a member. What's the next one I wanted to cover here? I can't cover that one because it's not safe for work. Keep in mind, guys, I have to weed through the not safe for work stuff. I typically have about 30 minutes to prep for this stream after my 9-to-5 job. So I have to then weed through the not safe for work stuff because we can't show you that here. I've already pushed it today. We'll watch a Stugna P taking out a Russian T-72. That's coming up for you guys here.
Я роблю пуск. Плюс ми готові. Так, ну що, з Богом. Пуск. Да. Чітко в мішені, да. Чуть вище. Ой, бум! Є попадання.
All right, that is a Stugna P. Now, what you're looking at here is a lot of offset, right? So there's a little remote box, and we have a video of an operator using that remote box something like 5 kilometers away from their target. You have a lot of standoff, not only from the weapon system, but the Stugna has a pretty solid range capability. So, although the image, looks really close here, these folks are probably pretty far off from their target. Okay. And then 2 more videos, and we're already getting towards the end of our stream here tonight. I'm not about just sitting here talking to you, just showing footage, because that's the whole purpose of the Yap. It is important for us that we be here live and say hello, because we're just veterans behind the scenes trying to show some footage, trying to help people understand what conflict, what war looks like, and help people understand it. It's Funker 530 veteran community for a reason, and we want to carry that forward with the lives. We're working on what a permanent show would be. So right now we're very Ukraine focused. It's less scripted. We do have the edited versions of the Funker News Network. We just released one of those yesterday. So if you haven't watched that one, go over and check that out, where we're talking about the TOW and a little bit of the history of the TOW, and we see the TOW missile being employed by Syrian rebels, quote unquote, Syrian rebels. But I talk a little bit more about that over there. A little bit more footage, though. We've got some good stuff here. He has no beard. I know. I had to put on the uniform this weekend. I'm one of those dirty weekenders. Ah, this one's good. This is one of the ones. This is a Ukrainian BTR-4 unleashing the 30mm on Russian armor and infantry. Coming up for you. I'm going to give you full screen for it because I want to check in on the chat while you're watching. Now that was a 30mm on the top of BTR-4. Notice how you could see some feet moving underneath of that, underneath of that Russian armored vehicle there. Notice the 30mm drop down a little bit, trying to squeeze some of those rounds, excuse me, underneath of that vehicle. That was one that I had on my list to show for you guys tonight. I want to jump back over into my notes for a minute, just to make sure we're covering everything I wanted to. Just to make sure I've hit everything. I had some notes about Odessa. We already talked about Odessa. You know, it's important to note though that until let's go to the map and we'll talk a little bit more about Odessa, because it seems as though that's imminent. I think there's still days before anything really happening there, and I'll explain why. Right. So one of the challenges that Russia has right now is they are, generally speaking, isolated. That amphibious force will be isolated here. What they're going to want to have is some form of support structure, right? Until they're able to get to the west of the southern bug. So this river that goes all the way up and has just a bunch of spiderweb tributaries that come off of it is called the southern bug. Until they're able to get to the west of the southern bug, that it's likely that amphibious force is just not going to happen. I had that as a note that I wanted to cover. Supply shortages. We talked about the supply shortages earlier. And that's more or less it. Okay, that's probably going to close us out. I want to hit a little bit more of this support before I go, though. Notorious Sig. That's funny. That's funny. What's your bourbon of choice, Ronnie? I am a Blanton's man. If if I can find it, it's difficult to find. Otherwise, Basil Hayden's, Angel's Envy, or obviously a good solid Woodford. I love, I'm a big bourbon guy. Eddie, thank you for the 609. Stay strong, and thank you, Funk 530 team. No, thanks for being here, man. We're not perfect. We're still doing our best to shape this live discussion, this live show, if you will, into what it will hopefully one day be. And right now, the best that we are able to put together is just talking about the coverage that we have, talking about what we're seeing on the ground. So I know it's not perfect, and if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. It's all good. It's all good. Truth or Spoof, thank you very much for the 20. We'll consider the shirt. Little Legs, thank you for the 5. That last video, yep, that's reality. That's reality on the ground. Guys, that's going to be it for me. These are short. There's no reason for me to keep talking for no reason. And we'll be back here live Thursday, right around 6 o'clock Eastern, the same time that we were here. But if you'd like to come and hang out with me live tomorrow and 3 nights a week, you're welcome to do so. I'm live on my channel Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 6 Eastern Standard. I'll paste a link in the chat for you guys. Thank you for being here. Stay informed. Good night.